Hi, I'm John Garasio, and welcome to a practical guide to Europe from Bavaria in Germany.
In this program, I'm going to take you to Hitler's hideaway in the Bavarian Alps. We'll be riding on the subway in Munich. I'll be giving you tips on what beer stein to buy, and letting you in on the secret of good Bavarian beer. All coming up in A Practical Guide to Bavaria. Germany is one of the largest countries in Europe, and Bavaria is Germany's biggest state. I think the most interesting places to visit lie south of Bavaria's capital, Munich. Very large but very green, Munich is unlike other major German cities. Its mix of beer gardens, museums, and theaters give it an almost Parisian atmosphere.
To fly to Munich from the US, you'll probably have to change planes in Frankfurt. Then from the airport here, you grab the S-Bahn train, which brings you right here to the center of town, the main train station in Munich, the Hauptbahnhof. This is the tourist information office here at the train station. Now, look, maybe I caught everybody in there on a bad day, but they were very unfriendly and unhelpful, although they did speak English. But do like I did. Have your phrase book with you and just bug them until they tell you what you want to know. Don't let them put you off Munich.
I decided to see Munich in style and stayed at the Bayerischer Hof, one of the city's best and oldest hotels. It dates back to 1841. It's elegant, but not pompous, and it's in a perfect location for sightseeing Munich.
Hello?
Guten Tag. Ich habe reservieren Garasio.
Garasio,
Yeah.
the name?
Yeah. Speaking Sie English?
Yes, I do.
Oh,
I do.
good.
Okay. So, Mr. Garasio, I need to fill out that form if you and your name, street, home address, and signature. please.
Gotcha. Do you need my passport?
Oh no, but maybe the credit card that I can make a
Credit
print.
card? Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So, in German hotels, you don't have to show your passport, fill out a registration form, and they'll often ask for a credit card, but we're used to that back home.
There are a staggering 428 rooms to choose from of all shapes, styles, and sizes. At the Bayerischer Hof, rooms start at 450 Deutschmarks.
Munich is a town that merits a few days' visit. The Bayerischer Hof is one of the best hotels in town. It would be a great place to spend your time here. Listen, you can practice your breaststroke while looking at the famous Marienkirche.
Those onion domes are the symbol of the city. You'll see them on t-shirts and, of course, beer mugs. They stand in the heart of the old town, on Marienplatz, where you'll find one of the oldest shows in town, the Glockenspiel. You can see the Glockenspiel here on Marienplatz every day at 11 a.m. And from May to October, it's also at noon and 5 p.m. If you're just not into walking, take the subway, or U-Bahn as it's called over here.
Now, first stop for me sightseeing today is the Residence Museum. I need a ticket for the subway. So, they have something here called the Tageskarte. It's like a one-day travel card, covers all your travel in the city, and if you get the single Tageskarte for the blue zone, the inner zone, that'll get you pretty much everywhere you want to go sightseeing-wise. So, they want 8 Deutschmarks. Now, you'll notice the machine doesn't speak English, but it's pretty clearly marked. Now, here's a tip. If you pick this up at the airport when you hit town, you can really save money because it covers your journey in from the airport and then you can use it to travel around that day. And they have a Tageskarte, the partner Tageskarte, for 2 people. That's a real money saver. Okay, got my ticket? Where am I going? I better look at a map and find out where this residence is. My guidebook told me that the residence is at Odeonplatz, and there it is. And I'm at Hauptbahnhof. Okay. I need U-Bahn line 4 or 5. That's the green or the gold one. Okay, green or gold, U4, U5. Up there, goes here, goes there, goes that way. This way. Very important. You must punch your ticket before you ride the S-Bahn or the U-Bahn. There's a fine if they catch you and you haven't done it. With your Tagescard, by the way, you just punch it the first time you use it. Smooth. Quiet. Nice.
The residence was the home of the ruling Wittelsbach family, a wild and wacky home for a wild and wacky family who left a trail of castles all over Bavaria. Though the residence is not as mind-blowing as other Bavarian castles, it's an excellent appetizer for the rest.
This is the Wittelsbach's family portrait gallery, and it's one of the few original rooms in the building. Most of the place was destroyed in wartime bombing. Now, when you visit here, be sure to take a look at the Schatzkammer Museum, which is included here, and that has the Bavarian family jewels.
The residence is open Tuesday to Sunday, and entrance costs 5 Deutschmarks. My favorite of all Munich museums, though, is the Lenbach, and I recommend a visit. It houses a collection by the Blue Rider Group, which included Kandinsky and Klee, among others. Munich, like Paris, was a mecca for artists. The Lenbach is open every day except Mondays. Onion Dome t-shirts aren't my style, so I thought I'd buy a beer mug instead, and I'd heard that Max Krug on Neuhauserstrasse is the place to go. Only problem is, which one do I get?
Hello, do you need some help, please?
Please. There's so many here. The curse of choice.
Yes.
Listen, I mean, some of these are so fancy, I'd almost be afraid to drink out of them.
No, they're mostly for show.
Ah.
A real beer stein to drink out of something like that, that's the
Right.
classic stein. It keeps the beer fresh, and this is the most important thing. Not the design is it, that's the material is it.
So it looks kind of plain, kind of sturdy.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
pottery, it's hand-formed on a turning plate. It's hand-graved, glazed, fired, got a hand-molded pewter top on it.
We gave my father something like this one, and he kept hitting himself in the eye when he tried to
Yes,
drink.
yes.
How do you prevent that? How do you learn that?
You got to learn it, you know, to hold a beer stein is, you know, this is the wrong way to hold a beer stein because it's always complicated.
Yes.
You put your middle finger in here, and then you got your one,
Sorry, Dad, we should have taught
You know,
you that.
and
His eye was terrible.
see, and then you put it on the desk,
and you
and
support
that's
your
it.
elbow, huh?
That's it, yes.
Beer steins here at Max Krug start from 24 Deutschmarks. Berchtesgaden lies on the southernmost tip of Germany. From Munich, the rail journey takes about 3 hours. Buying a train ticket in any country where you don't speak the language can be tricky, so be sure to allow extra time at the station.
Train tickets and information are found here, and this is just opposite track 20 and 21 here in the station. Now, last time I was in town doing work for the program, I had a tough time in there. There wasn't much English spoken, not a lot of information available. I want to go to Berchtesgaden today. Let's see how I do. Okay, got one. See, Berchtesgaden is a popular spot. Last time I was here, they were all out of these babies. Timetables. Okay, so far so good. Let's go get a ticket. Okay, got my ticket this time, no problem. Now, very important, check the makeup board of the train. You have to be sure you get on the right train and the right car of the train, because sometimes the trains split at stations and they go in opposite directions. You want to get where you're going after all. Ask questions when you buy your ticket. Check the makeup board on the platform.
This picturesque little town is embedded in a valley surrounded by 7 mountains. Adolf Hitler used it as a secret Alpine hideaway. It's in a perfect location and has pretty squares and streets and more than its share of tourist traps. One of the main attractions of Berchtesgaden is Königssee, Germany's cleanest and deepest lake. I recommend a boat trip across Königssee for the scenery alone. You sail through what look like Norwegian-style fjords, and you can visit the hamlet of St. Bartholomew and its Baroque churches. for a bird's eye view of where you've been, go up the Jenner Mountain. Now, I think I've been on every cable car in Europe, and this is one of the best. What's more, you can get a Sonder ticket, which combines the boat trip and cable car for 31 Deutschmarks. I stayed just outside Berchtesgaden at Hotel Kapelek. Give the scenery painter a raise. At the Hotel Kapelek, rooms cost from 65 Deutschmarks per person. Stay with me, and I'll take you to Hitler's hideaway in the Bavarian Alps, and take you to the original Disney castle. All coming up in A Practical Guide to Bavaria. Let's face it, Berchtesgaden means one thing: Adolf Hitler and Eva Braun's love nest. I took a bus tour with David Harper, who's been working here in Berchtesgaden for years and really knows his stuff. He even gave me umbrella holding lessons.
Some view, huh? Well, that's mountain weather for you. It was beautiful here yesterday. Today, pea soup. You know, they have an expression here in Bavaria. There's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothing. So be sure and pack your weather gear. By the way, if you don't have all the time or the interest in taking a full tour of the Eagle's Nest, you can just grab a bus up here from the city train station. It's a city bus, and it only sets you back about 25 Deutschmarks. Speaking of pea soup, I'm cold. This is July.
David throws some juicy Nazi gossip in with the serious stuff. I wish high school history had been like this.
Here with the dog Blondie, and they had their deck chairs out here, and maybe, you know, we could.
Anyone caught whistling Springtime for Hitler will be made to walk down.
A guided tour of the Eagle's Nest and bunkers costs 47 Deutschmarks. The Bavarian Alps run west from Berchtesgaden along Germany's southern border. But there's even more to this area of Germany than exquisite scenery. This is the home of the fairy tale castles of Mad King Ludwig II, including the original Disney castle, Neuschwanstein, which towers above the town of Fussen. You can pick up a direct bus to Neuschwanstein from Fussen railway station. The ticket lines at the top can be horrendous, but I hit it on a quiet day. Neuschwanstein Castle is open every day, and entrance is 10 Deutschmarks. The joined towns of Garmisch and Partenkirchen are about a 2.5-hour drive from Berchtesgaden, or about 1 hour by train from Munich. I decided to stay in the Partenkirchen end of town. It's got an older feel to it, and I wanted to try out a Gasthof there. Gasthofs are rural or small-town hotels with restaurants that often feature traditional food. My luck was in. They had a room free for me. Hey, what a welcoming party.
This joint is really jumping. Mein Name ist Guerasio. Ich habe ihn reservieren lassen.
Ein Zimmer
Ein Zimmer.
für Sie.
Eine Zimmer per eine Nacht.
Für eine Nacht. Einen Moment, schauen wir gleich mal nach. Jawohl, das haben wir.
Okay, now this form is like the one you'll fill in Italy and France and a lot of parts of Europe. It's just for the tourist office, and you'll also be paying about a 3 Deutschmarks tax to the tourist office, but for that tax, you're gonna get a card which gets you reductions on certain sites and attractions. So it's one of those situations where they take with one hand and give with the other. I think that's what they call bureaucracy.
Von Garmisch-Partenkirchen.
Great, tourist information on the town. And this is my discount card.
Und das ist Ihre Karte.
Dankeschön. Okay, let's see, what do we get here? Yeah. Now, this is the Gasthaus Fraundorfer. I would say this is a little fancier than most of the guest houses or Gasthauses I've stayed in Germany. It's got a feeling to it because this family, the Fraundorfer family, has owned it since 1820. Now, I'm not an accordion aficionado, so I'm kind of happy to be over here away from all that noise. Be nice while I'm having dinner, but might keep me up at night. Okay, the bathroom. Now, no bathtub, but immaculately clean. And by the way, that's something you're going to find throughout Germany. The hotels are clean. Got the shower, toilet, sink. Yeah, not bad.
At Gasthaus Fraundorfer, rooms cost from 62 Deutschmarks per person. What do I feel like tonight? Pig's knuckle? Warm lung? Wiener Schnitzel.
That's good. Now, this is a Kleines beer. That's a little beer. Okay, it's a sissy-sized beer, I admit it, but I'm not a big beer drinker. The Germans, though, they really like their beer. And the Bavarians really, really, really like their beer. They drink the rest of Germany under the table. Now, one way you can tell if it's a good beer or not in this country is how long it takes to get to your table. It should take about 7 minutes to get to you. That's how long it takes to properly pour one. And it should have a good size head. Not all head, but a good firm head. Pretty good to me. Now that's the biggest veal cutlet I've ever seen in my life. And that's the kids' portion. I mean, if it was the adult portion, it would be like falling off the plate. I don't know where they put it. But I know where I'm gonna put it right now.
Stay with me, and we'll go on a bus ride into the Bavarian Alps. And I'll take you to Ludwig II's magical grotto. All coming up in A Practical Guide to Bavaria. One good thing about the buses in Bavaria, they run on time.
The easiest way to explore the Bavarian Alps is with a car. But I've been using public transportation and I've found some incredible places. Like this, Linderhof Palace. This is where Ludwig II escaped to the country.
He actually felt more at home here in the Alps than in Munich. I can relate to that. This place is decorated in early Las Vegas casino style. Ludwig had more glitz than you've had hot dinners.
Linderhof Palace is a lot of fun to visit. It's so over-decorated, and at the same time, it feels like sort of a dollhouse palace because it's very small size. By the way, these peacocks, there's another one in the other room, they were placed outside when Ludwig was in residence. And get a load of this, a piano over here. Liberace could play this thing. You know, Ludwig was like a vampire. He slept in here during the day, and then at night, he either visited his grotto or went for sleigh rides. Now, this is a small palace, and they move 5,000 people a day through here. So to avoid the crowds, come at 9 in the morning or about 4 in the afternoon.
Ludwig adored the composer Wagner and would come here to listen to his favorite operas.
Well, they call Ludwig mad, but how crazy could he be? It looks to me like he invented Pirates of the Caribbean about 100 years before Disney did. Now listen, you can visit the grounds of the palace for free, but a visit to the grotto here is included in the price of a guided tour, and you don't want to miss this.
Linderhof Palace and Grotto are open daily. Entrance costs 9 Deutschmarks.
It's a wishing well, too. I wish I could hear a Wagnerian opera in here. Bavaria is one of my favorite parts of Europe. It's retained much of its original identity, hasn't been completely swamped by American culture. That's refreshing, and the countryside is exhilarating.
But to make the most of your trip to Bavaria, make sure you remember these practical tips. Buy a 24-hour Tagus card for traveling on the U-Bahn in Munich. Buy a Sonder ticket for both the boat and the cable car in Berchtesgaden. Remember Gasthof for traditional hotels. Portions are big in Germany, so try a kid-sized portion in restaurants. Bring waterproof clothing with you even in summer. And remember, you get reductions with your tourist discount card.
Hi, I'm John Garasio. Welcome to the Rhineland.
In this program, I'll be showing you where to stay and how to travel along Europe's biggest river. Where to find some of the best preserved Roman remains outside Italy. And I'll show you a restaurant which features ancient Roman recipes on its menu. And where to buy souvenirs that are over 2,000 years old. All coming up in A Practical Guide to Europe. Germany is one of the biggest countries in Europe, and the Rhine is Europe's main river. It flows for 840 miles from Lake Constance in Switzerland, north to Germany, then west through the Netherlands. Part of it forms the natural border between Germany and France. The area that is known as the Rhineland is much smaller. It stretches from Cologne to Mainz and includes the smaller Mosel River, which joins the Rhine at Koblenz.
This has been one of Germany's most popular tourist areas for over 200 years. The best time to visit are May and June, or September and October if you want to mingle with the wine festival crowds, but reservations are a must.
The rivers are the center of life here. The Rhine is wide and straight and easy for travel, while the Mosel turns and bends, throwing up a surprise around each corner. Both the Rhine and the Mosel are first-class wine-growing regions, and they're easy to explore. The best way to get here is to fly to Frankfurt. From there, you can get a direct train to Rüdesheim. Trains from Frankfurt to Rüdesheim run every 2 hours, but make sure you don't get an express train because they only stop at a few stations. The journey takes 1 hour.
The tourist office here in Rüdesheim is located on the Rheinstrasse, and between the road, the railway, and the river, this is one noisy strasse. Now, they can book a hotel room for you here without taking a commission, and they speak English. But Germany is a country where you should bring a phrase book. And besides, it's a courtesy to at least try to speak the native's language. And you can change your money here in this tourist office. And by the way, they take no commission on traveler's checks. Speaking of money, the German currency is the Deutschmark. And it comes in various paper and coin denominations, of course. This morning, I paid about 2.5 Deutschmarks for a cup of coffee. This is the most famous street in Rüdesheim, the Drosselgasse, also called Tourist Trap on the Rhine. It's the kind of place where you'll hear a German pop band playing She Wore an Itsy Bitsy Teeny Weeny Yellow Polka Dot Bikini.
This is where Frankfurt, and most of the rest of Germany, it seems, comes to party. They call it the merriest lane in the world. So it's not a place to come to if you're looking for a quiet weekend amidst the romantic castles of the Rhine. Between the bands, the revelers, the traffic, and the railroad, Rüdesheim is very noisy. So don't think you've got a good deal if your hotel overlooks the Rhine, because you'll be kept awake all night with the sound of trains and barges. The Hotel Lindenwert is set back from the riverfront, so you don't have to worry about the trains and barges here. Every room has its own bathroom, and there's a private courtyard so you can escape the hustle and bustle of the Drosselgasse. At the Hotel Lindenwert, double rooms start from Deutschmarks 200 a night. That's for a standard room. But if you've been rolling out the barrel all night on the Drosselgasse, you might want to roll into one of these for the night. Or is this a fallout shelter? From morning till night, you can't get away from it here. But there's more to German music than Oompa. Up at the top of the Drosselgasse, you'll get a different sort of music at Siegfried's Mechanical Music Cabinet.
This is my favorite place in Rudesheim, Siegfried's Museum of Mechanical Musical Instruments. They've got everything from carousel organs to singing snuff boxes. I recommend it.
You'll find instruments like this all over Germany, and this museum explains their popularity. To find out more about them, I spoke to Hans, the assistant manager.
Hans, who is that tickling the ivories?
So now we have the master Edward Grieg himself, the Norwegian, playing a part of his own Peregrine suite, the Dance of a Mitra.
Amazing. When did he record this?
That was done probably in 1911.
Siegfried's Mechanisches Music Cabinet is open daily. Admission is 8 Deutschmarks. This is the Schloss Bromseberg, and it's one of the oldest castles on the Rhine. It was built more than 1,000 years ago by the Knights of Rudesheim on the site of a Roman fortress. The fortress is now a wine museum, and you can even see the Roman pruning shears dropped over 2,000 years ago by a clumsy Roman vintner. Schloss Bromseberg Wine Museum is open daily from March to October. Admission is 3 Deutschmarks. Towering above Rudesheim is the Niederwald Monument. The statue is called Germania, and it was built to commemorate the unification of Germany in 1871. The monument is over 700 feet above the Rhine, and from there you get some great views of the river and the valley. To get to the monument and the viewpoint, take the cable car up over the vineyards from the center of Rudesheim. Rather than going back the same way, take the chairlift over the other side of the hill down to Assmannhausen. This is Rudesheim's sister town just around the bend in the river. To go from Rudesheim to the Niederwald Monument on the cable car, then down to Assmannhausen on the chairlift, it's cheaper if you buy a combined ticket. For the cable car and chairlift, the Kombi ticket is 8 Deutschmarks. The village is part of Rudesheim, but it's a much quieter place to stay. No Drosselgasse revelers here among the half-timbered houses which huddle along the narrow streets. The railway line goes away from the riverbank here, so it's a better place to come to if you want a room with a view of the river. Most German wine is white, but Assmannhausen is famous as the home of Spätburgunder, one of Germany's few red wines. And here in the center of the village, you can sample this unusual wine in the cellars of local winemakers. Because they're situated at the Rhine's midpoint, Rudesheim and Assmannhausen are good places to base yourself for exploring the sites along the river. And wherever you're going, if you have the time, travel by boat. It's been the tried and tested mode of transport around here for over 2,000 years. And though it's not the quickest way, it's the most direct and certainly the most scenic. Saint-Goar is just over 20 miles north of Rudesheim. Today, Saint-Goar is a sleepy little place, but in the past, this fortified town was often involved in military conflicts. If you've only got time to take one trip on the river, the best one is from Rudesheim to Saint-Goar. This is the Rhine Gorge, where the river is at its most scenic, and you pass the famous Lorelei Rock. The journey takes almost 2 hours, so if you catch the 9 o'clock boat from Rudesheim, you'll have enough time to spend the day in Saint-Goar and catch a late train back. But I've decided to spend the night in Saint-Goar. Now this is really getting away from the crowds. The Schloss Hotel Villa Rheinfels is a romantic hotel, which is usually a sign of quality. You'll find the romantic name a lot throughout Northern Europe. At the Schloss Hotel Villa Rheinfels, rooms start from 215 Deutschmarks.
Now it's time to relax. After all, you've been playing hard. Time for Kaffee and Kuchen. That's German for coffee and cake. Uh-oh, another great view. The hotel is actually part of the Castle Rheinfels, which was built in 1245 and was once the most powerful fortress along the Rhine. It's just a big ruin now, but it's worth a visit for the views.
A walk around these extensive ruins with their maze of sentry walls gives a good impression of what this place used to be like when it was the biggest fortress on the Rhine. Burg Rheinfels is open from April to October. Admission is 5 Deutschmarks. Stay with me to see the world's first printed book and to find out how the first printing press worked. Coming next in, a practical guide to Europe. The principal city of the Rhineland is Mainz, which is dominated by its 1,000-year cathedral. Mainz is situated about 20 miles to the south of Rudesheim. Boats from Rudesheim to Mainz run 3 times a day. A one-way ticket costs 26 Deutschmarks. A round trip costs 34 Deutschmarks. The boat stop and the town's train station are in the center of Mainz. It's a good town for shopping, and you'll find department stores here like Karstadt. If you're planning a picnic, come to the market in Mainz. It's held on Domplatz on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. And even if you're not planning a picnic, come anyway. The market is really colorful. But shopping is not all that you come to Mainz for. The real reason to come to Mainz is to see the cathedral and the historic center. This city was badly bombed during the Second World War, and most of the historic buildings were destroyed. But looking around the center, you wouldn't think so. The old city streets and the market square are full of picturesque half-timbered houses and medieval remains, all of which were perfectly reconstructed after the war. The cathedral is the central point of the old city. It's the largest north of the Alps, and the interior is just as impressive as the exterior, so it's worth spending some time looking around it. Mainz Cathedral is open daily except Sunday. Admission is free. Mainz is the city of Gutenberg, the inventor of the printing press. It was here in Mainz in 1456 that Johannes Gutenberg built the first machine that could print from movable type. The information superhighway started here. The Gutenberg Museum is devoted to the art of printing, and you'll find printing presses of every age, shape, and size here. But the star of the show here is so precious, they keep it locked away in this darkened vault behind doors as thick as Fort Knox. It's the world-famous Gutenberg Bible, the first book ever printed. And to see how it was done, there's a very good demonstration on a reconstruction of that first Gutenberg press. The Gutenberg Museum is open daily. Admission is 5 Deutschmarks. But it's free on Sundays.
If you don't have time to visit the Rhine towns by boat, then take the train. It runs right along the river and it gives you the same great views. But listen, in some of the smaller train stations in Germany, no one speaks English, including the ticket machines. But don't worry, they're not too tough to figure out. Say you wanted to go up to St. Goarshausen. That'd be number 5. 7 Deutschmarks.
The Rhine isn't the only river to see or travel along in this region. The Mosel is smaller, more meandering, and I think more dramatic than the Rhine. The Mosel starts in France and flows into the Rhine at Koblenz. Trier is the oldest city in Germany and the major one on the Mosel. It has some of the best preserved Roman remains in northern Europe. The city is very close to the borders of France and Luxembourg, but it's easy to get to by train from any of the towns along the Rhine, although you'll probably have to change at Koblenz.
The train station is right in the center of town, just a few minutes walk from the major sites. Most of the sites in Trier date from Roman times, and this is the most famous of them all, the Porta Nigra, or Black Gate. It's part of a wall that was built at the end of the 2nd century for protection. And it's a great place to start your visit to this town because the Simeonstrasse leads away from here towards all the famous sites. If you plan to do Trier, and I think you should, then pick up the Trier card. It gets you into all the town's museums and gets you discounts on the Roman attractions, boat trips, and the cable car. And for 17 Deutschmarks, it's a real steal. You get it here at the Tourist Information Office. And by the way, they speak English here, and they can organize walking tours and excursions to the rest of the region.
Trier is small, and you can easily cover it on foot. The city was declared a UNESCO Cultural Heritage Landmark, and as you walk around it, you'll find nearly 2,000 years of history on view. The ornate 18th century Electoral Palace stands next to the austere brickwork of the 4th century Roman Imperial Palace of the Emperor Constantine. The central structure of the cathedral also dates from the 4th century. This bridge, carrying modern traffic over the Mosel, is supported on the original Roman foundations. When the Emperor Constantine set up Trier, he built imperial baths here. A network of vaulted cellar passages was laid out with heating and drainage, and much of this can still be seen today. The Roman baths are open daily. Admission is 4 Deutschmarks.
This is the Landesmuseum, which has the largest collection of Roman treasures in all Germany. It seems like every time they dig a hole in this town, they find more Roman remains. Boy, those Italians got around. And this is an especially large and complete Roman tile floor I'm walking across.
The heritage of 5 centuries of Roman activity is on display here, giving a fascinating insight into Roman life. A good example is the famous wine ship from Neumagen, and you've never seen so many Roman coins. In fact, they've got so many Roman coins in Trier, you can even buy them yourself at antique shops here. Shop around, and you can get a genuine Roman coin for as little as 5 Deutschmarks. For a good one, expect to pay around 25 Deutschmarks. You can't get away from the Romans here, even when you go out for a meal. This, believe it or not, is genuine Roman food. Well, and the food isn't that old, but the recipes for the dishes on the menu here are all Roman.
Rosie, I'm struck by these Roman dishes. They look very modern and yet very ancient and unusual at the same time. Is this something the way they would have been served in Roman times?
Yes, I think it is very authentically, but I hope it is, because I have found the oldest cookery book of the world.
Ah.
And,
now, where do you find something like that? I know where to get a recipe for fried chicken, but where do you get a recipe book for ancient Roman food?
No, I don't know if you know that we have excavated this room 20 years ago, and we found the rest of the palace of Emperor Constantine I and his mother St. Helena. And during the excavations we found also a lot of things which belong to the kitchen: bones, rests of meals, shells of oysters, and so on. And then I made up my mind to find out how the Romans had cooked.
So that's where your interest started, was when you made that discovery?
Yes,
yeah.
And then I found out that a Roman man in the 1st century has written a book, De Arte Coquinaria. It means the art of kitchen. And
so there actually was a Roman cookbook.
Stay with me for a hotel with a view and a perfect way to start the day. Coming up next in A Practical Guide to Europe from the Rhineland. Cochem is on the most scenic stretch of the Mosel, and it's the leading tourist resort on the river. Cochem is a 1-hour train ride along the Mosel from Trier. When you get here, the station is just a short walk away from the town center and from the river. All the tour boats stop at Cochem,
And a very pleasant way of getting here is to travel by boat from Trier. But you can't do it in a day. Boat trips on the Mosel are slow, and you won't have time to look around. I actually prefer the Mosel to the Rhine, and Kokum is a perfect size for you to see a lot of without wearing yourself out. The town is dominated by the massive Reichsburg Castle. It's quite a climb up to it, but it's one of the best preserved castles here, and from it you get spectacular views. Reichsburg Castle is open daily. To visit it, you have to go on a guided tour. Tours leave every 7 minutes. They cost 6 Deutschmarks. But back in Trier, I stayed at a hotel with a view. The Hotel Petersburg is a charming hotel set in woodland on a hill above the city. Rooms at the Hotel Petersburg are comfortable. They cost from 165 Deutschmarks. But one of the best things about German hotels is the breakfast. I'm having a Sekt breakfast, and it's the perfect way to start the day in Germany. It's available at most good hotels and cafes. Sekt, by the way, is Germany's answer to champagne. Tastes just as good for a quarter of the price. Saving money in Germany. Sounds too good to be true. Look at all this food. And for more practical tips to help you enjoy your stay in the Rhineland, buy Combi tickets for saving on train and boat trips. Rudesheim is a good central base for seeing the Rhine. Just as well placed, the adjoining town of Assmannshausen is quieter. The romantic hotel chain is usually a sign of good quality. The Trier card is good value for seeing the museums and Roman sites of Trier. And make your hotel reservations well in advance if you plan to stay in Kokum during the summer. This is John Garasio saying goodbye from the Rhineland.